I have a daughter in high school, and my name's David. I also own a restaurant business. My wife Karen and I have been married for 19 years. These past long 3 days began with a single word from my beloved and only daughter, Karen. "Hey, Dad, where are you going?" "Oh, I'm just going to be out for a couple days for some errands. I'm going to be away from home." "Oh, it's just a bit sudden." "Don't worry, I've already asked Grandma to help watch the house. Anyway, while I'm away, I've also talked to the neighbors to watch over the house, so don't worry too much. Look forward to the souvenirs I'll be bringing home." I told Karen that I packed a night's worth of things and some documents. I also took a camera with telephoto lens with me. I got into the car, with 5 passengers already inside the car. As soon as they saw my face, one of them started speaking. "David, are you ready?" Once the car starts, there's no turning back now. What a foolish question, Mr. Ellis. When I presented you with a plan, you should have been ready. In that case, we also don't need to hold back. Come on, get the car going. "Yes, sir, understood." These people are Mafia men. The store we had was in financial trouble, and they were acting as loan sharks, which was why I am teaming up with these people. Okay, let me explain the whole story. First, our purpose and target. Let me explain that. It all started about 2 years ago. At the time, due to many customers leaving, we were in financial difficulties. Trying to manage the burger restaurant's cash flow and my daughter's 3rd year of junior high school expenses was like treading water. Damn, what am I supposed to do? I've been turned down for a loan by every bank. If things stay like this store I inherited from my parents, I'm not sure what will happen. Don't be so sullen. If you work hard and diligently, you'll be rewarded one day. I'd like to believe that too. But just believing in something doesn't make problems go away. The fact is, Karen's going to be in high school, and it's happening so fast. It's okay. I'm sure we'll be fine. I've got you covered. Oh, are you just taking stuff? What makes you say that? Well, at that time, Susan showed me a flyer of a certain consumer finance company. Susan told me that it was a moneylender run by an old acquaintance of hers, and that they would lend me money at a much lower interest rate than the bank would. Normally, I would never have gotten involved in this, but at that time, I was in a tight spot, and I didn't have the luxury of being able to think clearly. Additionally, the person I was borrowing money from was a friend of a friend. I completely let my guard down. Okay, I'll just borrow $1,000. That should be enough to cover the cost of Karen's uniform. Wait a minute, it's better to borrow money with a bit more cushion in these situations. Even if there is a little extra, it can go towards repaying other loans or living expenses. We'll just have to turn the business around. Well, that's true. You never know when the unexpected might happen. So how much are you planning to borrow? Well, I'd say about $10,000. That's good, isn't it? Whoa, $10,000? That's really not necessary. Generally, the more you borrow, the higher the interest rates. That's how it works. Don't worry, the person lending you the money is a friend of mine, alright? If I talk to them, they will lend you the money at a much lower interest rate than the bank. Oh, is that so? Well then. Okay, I'll go as soon as possible to sign the contract tomorrow. And so, I was able to obtain a large sum of money to cover Karen's tuition and other expenses. Somehow, we managed to cover the costs. However, it turned out the person I borrowed the money from was Susan's lover, a man involved in illegal lending. They conspired together to deceive me and trick me out of my money. Susan had been, for the past 2 years, in a relationship with an illegal loan shark named Tony. They were having an affair. Tony was a strong and younger man than I am. Susan met Tony through a social networking service. Unbeknownst to me, she was giving him a lot of my money every month. However, the number of customers at our burger restaurant has drastically decreased due to a new infectious disease outbreak. Since then, Susan stopped being able to give Tony money as much as she had wanted. So then, Susan and Tony planned to lend me money with exorbitant interest rates. They decided to deceive me. In the end, their plan was to take the store I had inherited from my parents as collateral for the loan. And I was informed of this fact by none other than Mr. Ellis, the mastermind behind the illegal lending business. As we investigated this in further details, we found out that one of our employees was lending money to you at 23% interest, which exceeds our company limit. We understand we may owe you money. Huh? But aren't you a loan shark? 23% is normal, isn't it? That's absurd. If you do that nowadays, you will be caught by the police in no time. You say loan shark, but we're registered as a moneylender, a clean company. If you understood that, then that's what's causing you difficulty. So, in other words, Tony was profiting the difference between the stipulated interest rate and the actual interest rate collected. You guys are properly registered as a money-lending business. That story raises a few eyebrows. At any rate, to Mr. Ellis, I have been unfairly paying him. He seems to be willing to pay me back the money. However, Mr. Ellis's original purpose was not that. His purpose was to obtain evidence of illegal wrongdoing by his employee. As you can imagine, we are part of the Mafia. Our group is now very much against doing things that will draw attention, but I can't let Tony do whatever he wants. I am in charge of the company, and I can't have my reputation tarnished, so I need to see if I can get enough evidence to punish him. I understand. In exchange, I have one condition. What's the condition? From you, I need help gathering evidence of my wife's infidelity, and if you can, I'd like to be a witness at our meetings. Negotiating with the Mafia. You've got some balls. Alright, I'll take you on it. I'll cooperate with you as much as you want. When I asked him about it later, Mr. Ellis has a daughter the same age as our Karen. He was very sympathetic to my situation. I also learned that in Mr. Ellis's business, it's illegal to have relationships with customers. For Tony, he's going to be punished for the illegal interest money, but also punished heavily for breaking the rules on relationships with customers. Well, in short, at that time, Mr. Ellis and my interests were perfectly aligned. Then one day, I stole Susan's cell phone. I found out that she was planning a spa trip with Tony, and then I told Mr. Ellis about it right away. I planned to track them down and get solid proof of their infidelity. Wow, nice spa. It must have been pretty expensive. Yeah, it's about $500 a night. Well, the money, it was your husband who paid for it, or so it seems like. It was a good idea, wasn't it? At the interest a little for David, the plan was to pocket the difference. Oh, besides your husband, I'm also taking money from other people in the same way. I'm already rich. Just a minute, don't forget your payment to me. Who came up with this idea? It was me. I know, then what about this month? $500. Thank you. Susan and Tony, they didn't know I was following them. The hallway of the spa echoed with their vulgar laughter. However, to think that Susan was the one who came up with the plan, the little bit of love I had for my wife, after I heard that, fell apart. David, at this time, can I check one thing? Yeah. What is it? I've up until now have always thought your wife cooperated with Tony because she was in love with him, or that Tony threatened her and she did what she had to do. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say too. But if she's the one who deceived you, then that's a different story. Your wife took it upon herself to pick a fight with the Mafia. Talking is different than doing. You have to do it according to Mafia laws. When you make judgment against them, can you forgive me? No, forgiveness is not necessary. Even if you reject it, our actions will not change, so please be prepared in advance. I will not reject it. In fact, I want to ask it from you. I want him to feel like he'd rather be dead, to be punished severely. Can you deal with that? You really are an interesting person. I understand. Let's do as you requested. Saying that, Mr. Ellis walked off with his underling. And then, Tony noticed the sound of leather shoes thumping and looked back at me. His expression, which should have been a smile, froze in an instant. Hi, Tony. You look like you're having a good time. Can I join? Mr. Ellis. Huh? Who's that? Do you know him? I'm a member of the Mafia. You're referring to the boss of the individual present here. Do you understand? Oh, what? David? Why? Why? You're here. Such things don't matter. Hey, you. How dare you mock the Mafia? You made a mockery of us. Ha, yes? What are you talking about? Don't be coy. You conspired with Tony to take a cut of the money collected from creditors. I know about it. It's not true. I haven't done anything wrong. Nothing. So, what's the story? Let's hear it outside. This place belongs to Mr. Clark. It will inconvenience him if we argue here. After that, we left the spa where Susan and Tony were staying and headed to the beach located a little away. It's also because it's off-season, so the weather today was bad with no one around. It's a perfect place to talk slowly, but the sound of the wind was so loud on the deserted shoreline, Susan and Tony were buried up to their necks in this situation. The tide will fill up soon. How much time do we have? It'll be 1 hour or so. Well then, we should start talking quickly. When the tide comes in, this area is all ocean floor. If you don't want to drown and die, answer my questions honestly, okay? After that, it was just a talk in name. The proceedings continued more like a picture of hell. By the time the tide came in, Tony's face was disfigured beyond recognition. It had swollen up all over. However, Susan's face was just a little sandy. It was still quite beautiful. Well, that doesn't mean she's innocent. Ugh. Alright, stop right there. I still don't want him to die. This is so annoying. Yes, sir. Well then, next is this woman. How do we deal with her? Yeah, I'll tell you about that one. Oh, David, help! I was tricked by this man! No more excuses. I have enough evidence that you have been betraying me and Karen for years. I know it all. But that's... So, no excuses. That's enough. More important, the reason why you haven't been beaten up. Do you understand why? Because I'm a woman, so... That's not exactly it, but it's not far off either. You'll be sold to a brothel from now on to repay the money that was taken from the Mafia with your own body. What? You're over 40 years old. I heard and thought you'd be some old hag, but I'm sure you can make enough money with your figure. Well, if you work for 5 years, you can pay all the money back in full. No, absolutely not. I don't want to be a hooker. I don't want to work there. I'm not asking for your opinion. This is a done deal. You can tell her daughter, Karen, that you ran off with your lover. No. Somebody, help me. Shut up. I'll stuff a towel in your mouth. Throw her in the car. Yes. I left Mr. Ellis there, so I don't know the exact details of what happened, but a few days later, I received a notice of debt repayment from the shady loan shark that Tony was working for. The debt I owed after being tricked by Susan and Tony had been voided. Probably the principal and exorbitant interest on the loan will probably be repaid by Susan doing her work. Speaking of Tony, what happened to him? Maybe he was left buried in the sand until the tide came. Oh, let's leave these terrifying fantasies here. From here on out, it's the Mafia's domain. It's not a matter that concerns me. It's been a year since then. Recently, customers have started to come back to our restaurant, and I'm able to repay the loan back smoothly. As for my daughter Karen, when she heard that her mother had ran off with a man, she became quite depressed. But recently, she's managed to cut ties with the past, and it seems that she's lively and energetic again. It's not easy for me to run the restaurant by myself, but Karen helps me in the evenings, so it's no problem. Anyway, I'm not going to be fooled by these sweet words. I'm going to have to work even harder.